Hello, students. Hello, students. You're welcome to Waidsum University. Okay, without much ado, let's begin. This is chapter 5 of networking essential, or the course networking essential management. Remember, this course has about every chapter has about 7 sections, so this is huge. So it takes time to complete a chapter. Okay, so today we're in chapter 5 for this course, and we be looking at the first part of this chapter 5. The title of this chapter is Interconnecting the LAN. Okay, this part, the first part, is just an introductory section of this chapter. Is that okay? The section 1 is about introductory section of the chapter. Now let's take a look at this introductory section. First and foremost, we have what we call the chapter outline. The first part is the introduction. So chapter 5, section 1, we'll be looking at the introduction into this chapter. Then chapter 5, part 2, or section 2, we'll be looking at the network bridge. Then chapter 5, section 3, we'll be looking at the network switch. Chapter 5, section 4, we'll be looking at the router. Then chapter 5, section 5, we'll be looking at the console port connection. There's chapter 5, section 6, we'll be looking at the networking or interconnecting the LANs with the router. How we can interconnect the LANs with the router. Then chapter 5, part 7 or section 7, we'll be looking at the interconnecting LANs and WANs. How we can interconnect LANs, local area networks, and wide area networks. Okay? So now here are the chapter objectives, the things we aim to achieve at the end of this chapter. At the end of this chapter, we singularly want to be able to describe how a bridge is used in how is used to interconnect LANs. You know, you have one local area network. You can have more than one LAN in a building. You can have more than one LAN local area network in a building, especially if the building is huge or if the building has multiple levels. So you can have more than one LAN. And if you have more than one LAN, how you can use a bridge to connect this local area network, we will be cross-examining this section. Okay? Then another section, part or objective that we aim to achieve in this section 1, chapter 5, section 1, is to look at or describe how a switch is used to interconnect LAN. So the first part is to look at how a bridge is used to interconnect LAN. The second part is to look at or to describe how a switch is used to interconnect LAN. The third objective that we'll be looking at is to discuss the advantages of using a switch instead of a hub. What are the benefits of using a switch instead of using a hub? So that's what we'll be describing or discussing as our third objective. Okay? Now, still on the objectives, we will, at the end of the whole chapter 5, we'll be able to describe the functions of a router when used to interconnect LANs. What job do routers do when you use them to interconnect LAN, local area network? Then we'll also be describing or looking at the interface associated with a router interface. We'll be looking at the interface of a router. We'll be describing it, we'll be looking at it, the configuration and everything that has to do with the interface of a router. At the end of this chapter, one of the things we aim to learn is the functions of a gateway in a computer network. So what do gateway do in computer networks? Okay, we're going to look at the functions and the benefit of a gateway in a computer network. Then another thing we aim to achieve at the end of the whole of this chapter is to describe or be able to describe the concept of a network segment. We should be able to look at the holistic concept of a network segment. So we're going to model a network and describe it or discuss this appropriately. Then at the end of this chapter, we should be able to also illustrate and describe and discuss the concept of auto-negotiation in a network. auto negotiation in a network. Then at the end of this chapter or this concept or this section, we should be able to describe the steps that are used in both including the software and the hardware that are used for connecting a router's cursor port. Okay, we'll be able to describe the steps, including the software segment part of it and the hardware part of it for connecting a router's console port. So these are our major objectives, and I think they are up to, these objectives are way more than close to 10 that we aim to achieve by the end of this chapter. Okay, now the first part is the introduction of the section 1 of this chapter, which talks about the utility of LAN, like the benefit LAN has led us to the desired need for why we have to connect 2 or more networks together. The usefulness that we get from LAN, local area network, the super benefit that because we are able to connect to internet. When we have LAN put in place, local area network, when we put it in place, and then we are able to access both the internet and the intranet and the extranet. All of this, we're able to access them. So because we're able to access the intranet and the internet, then now LAN, local area network, has undoubtedly super advantages. Now this utility, the usefulness and the benefit, the super benefit that comes from local area network pave way to the reasons, the reasons behind why we connect networks together. The utility and the super benefit that we get from local area networks pave way to the reason why we have to connect them together. Because if we have a local area network in a building and it only covers a certain floor, maybe only the first and second floor, and the building is up to like 20-something stories, and we want to cover it, it's our office area, then it means we need to collect various LAN in that building, and then we interconnect them together. So this utility or this benefit or usefulness that arise from the local area network pave way to the super reason why we have to connect what we call the LANs together. Now, for this singular objective of this chapter, interconnecting local area network, and other subsequent chapters that we're going to deal with from this concept or from this course, networking essential management, all of it is to introduce the concept and the issues behind interconnecting LAN. Everything that we'll be doing in this chapter, it's pointing to the super benefit, the utility of interconnecting LAN. Is that okay? So everything we'll be doing is geared towards the concept, the issues, the problems that may arise when we interconnect LAN. The concept itself, the subject matter, the area that we need to cover, and the issues and problems that may arise from the fact that we connect local area networks together using probably routers. Using first and foremost, before we talk about router, is to connect to the bigger world. Okay, before we talk about router, we using bridges, using switches, okay, as against the former one that we used to use, which is the hub. So using bridges to connect LANs together or to connect LAN, and using switches as well. All this and the cursor ports, all this integral part of the network itself, all gave rise to the reason why we are doing this. All of this gave rise because of the utility, the super benefit that we are deriving from local, that we have always been deriving from local area network. So for that singular reasons, or for these reasons, we have decided to interconnect local area networks together to provide ultimate utility, to provide super benefit for networks, for computer networks. Now, interconnecting the local area networks. Now, when we talk about interconnection, or we're talking about interconnection of local area network it can be seen in probably, let's take a single example like the campus. The campus has local area networks, more than one, that are connected together. Because one local area network cannot cover the entire campus area. Okay, so even sometimes a single local area network can only be for a building if the building is a small building. But the moment the building is big, there is a single local area network may not be sufficient for a single building, let alone an entire campus. So we need to interconnect. So first of all, we set up different local area network, and then we interconnect them together to function with one another, to correspond with one another, to create a bigger advantage as to the enterprise having a huge network coverage. Is that okay? So interconnection of LAN, a good place you can find it is your campus area. Your campus has what we call the campus network, or even interconnecting the LAN in a wider area could, like one, okay, like entire cities. You take Kuala Lumpur, for instance, the entire Kuala Lumpur, you can interconnect the entire thing, you know. So interconnecting the entire city, or a city may be super big, a street, or a metropolitan area. Okay, so when we do this, then we are able to cover what we call the one wide area network. When we extend LAN, multiple LANs within a given geographical location, then we have succeeded in creating a one wide area network. Okay, and wide area network incorporates similar concept and similar issue as the LAN, as the local area network. Remember, a wide area network is actually a multiple local area network that has been transmitted over using radio frequency over a wide area. Okay, so the campus networks, let's go back to the campus network. The campus network is a collection of two or more interconnected local area networks. So campus network, for example, we're using campus because at least it's very it will be very vivid for the students to understand the concept, because from the campus you can get exactly what we're saying. Or the office, if we're going to talk about the office network, we have to be very specific. We have to be super specific in order to give a clear example to the students. But I think the campus is a good example for the students. Okay, so in a campus, you need to connect to, depending on the size of the campus. If the campus is small, then maybe 2 or 3 LAN, local area network, is sufficient to be connected together. But if the campus is huge, is big, then you need multiples of local area network to be connected together in order to provide the internet for the campus, to create the internet for the campus after you have linked with the service provider. Okay? Now, either can be within a building, like there are small campuses, there are like colleges, there are just one building as a campus. There are cases like this, okay? Especially if you go to like private colleges, private universities, you see like one big building, okay? It is either as a building or housed externally in multiple buildings. So you can house the local area network externally in multiple buildings, in different buildings, and then you interconnect them together to work together assiduously. And this will create the networking or interconnection of networks that we are talking about. Is that okay? So I think this is just for the introductory part. Then we will be going to section 2, chapter 5, section 2, which gives a vivid explanation of this section. So thank you very much for joining us once again. Thank you.